In the video on the basics of creating an action page, we had this project where we had these three text boxes that had links to photos that would display in this photo holder. Now, in that video, as you may recall, I had gone up here under Media and I built myself a action page quick view. And that brought up this quick view. And here we can select through the videos. We could close it off if we wanted. We can recall it if we wanted, okay? But that's just a quick view of it. You haven't really saved anything yet. So what I'm going to do now is show you what you do to go about saving one of these things for either distributing, keeping on your own system, or distributing to other people, or if you want to put it up on a web server if you have configured a web server. Now, and if you haven't configured a web server, there's another video I'm making that's going to talk about how you go about doing that. But for right now, let's go about figuring out how to save one of these things just to our local machine. So if we go over here now under Media again, and we go down and it says Build an Action Page. Now, if I click on that, that will bring up a dialog box that is going to let me define what I want my action page to look like. So there are several things you can do here. Number one, you can build the action page to build it to go to the internet, or that would be to put it up on a web server, or you can build it for local viewing. For now, let's go ahead and build this thing for local viewing. And to do that, what I'll do is I'll check this box, and this brings up my standard Files dialog box that Windows has, or on the Mac it would be the Mac dialog box. But in any case, I can save this thing to anywhere that I want. For now, I think what I'm going to do is just save it to samples, SP samples as I call it, and I'll call this thing photo holder example. All right. So if I tell it now to go ahead and save that as an action page is a HTML page, by the way. If you're familiar with internet jargon, that's what web pages are. They're HTML pages. That stands for Hypertext Markup Language, but it's not important right now. Just think of it in terms of being an action page from Scrap Page. Okay, so I'll tell it go ahead and save that. So now up here you'll see that the progress shows that it did some things and that its file build is complete. Now if I want to view that page, all I have to do is click here on the View the Action Page. Now it'll be bigger this time because, by the way, I saved it with these dimensions up here. It defaults to these. You can change these to anything you want, but for right now I've got it just set to default to where if it's a landscape picture like this, it's going to default to a height of 920 pixels, which would make, for the dimensions of this particular project that I have here, would make the page width be 1380 pixels. So anyway, right now let's take a quick look at that page. Okay, so it comes up, and here it is, just as before. We have now our photo 1, photo 2, photo 3, and the ability to close and reopen these just like we did in our quick view. All right, the benefit of the quick view is you can just try things and see if it's doing what you want it to do or what you expect it to do, whereas here you've now kind of saved it to a file. So if I wanted to see where I've saved that, let me bring over my Windows Explorer here, and I put that under SP examples. So if I go down here under SP examples, I called this thing photo, what did I call it? Photo holder example. All right, right there. You can see that HTML file is there. Now, along with that file, it will have saved up here in another folder, photo holder example files. So if you open that up, you'll see the files that are comprised, that are needed for this web page to display. All web pages have this, by the way. They have a file that is the HTML file that defines the action, or defines the layout of the page. But then it has these resources, they call them, which are basically, in this case, just a bunch of images that are used to actually be called in by the the script HTML file and actually display it in your web browser. So that's kind of the way things work in the web. But anyway, if I go back down here now and I go back down to my photo, where did I go? Here it is, photo holder example. And I double click on that. It will, of course, open up that again in my web browser. And it'll open up in any whatever's your default web browser. In my case, it's Edge. You might have Firefox or Chrome or whatever be your browser. But in any case, that's what happens, and you can see how it works just like it would. And you can keep this around now. We'll close that off. You can keep this. There's the quick view that I had before. You see how these things propagate up here at the top of the web browser. But anyway, that's how you go about saving it to your local machine. Now, if you happen to have had let's go back here to this again. We'll go back here to where I'm going to build a web page one more time. And if you happen to have already configured a web server, like I have here, I have a folder in my web server that I call My Pages. Now, I'll call this thing again. Let's give it a different name just to show you that it actually is something different here. I'll just call it photo example. How's that instead of photo holder example? All right, so if I name this page that and I say build it for the internet, now what it's going to do is it's going to upload that page to the internet, which is going to be in my my particular web server folder that happens to have that particular name. Okay, so I'm going to tell it to go ahead and do it. So you can see it's preparing the photo images. It's ready to upload. It's uploading the main image. Now it's uploading the pop-up photos, and it says uploading complete. Okay, again, I can view it, but when I view it this time, what it's going to do is it's going to download it from the internet and display it. And it's going to, as you can see right here, the page URL is going to be MediaDigitronics.com, SPF, DEF, My Pages, Photo Example, HTML. So when I tell it to view that, up here you'll see that particular URL opened up in my web browser. And again, here we have those photos again and the ability to close them off and bring them back to life. And so anyway, that's how you go about saving and uploading or just saving to your local machine action pages in Scrap Page. So till the next time, this is Dave with Media Digitronics.